if you could consider that other aspects of life are in the same experience of learning and their process of growing as you are, and that life is as above, so below, applies to everything.
I'm thinking about this from the perspective of the individual who's not actively doing this. That would require us to consider more than ourselves.
Yes, I know. It's just what a novel thought.
And Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude, we welcome you to the Of The Sun SunCast Podcast with Tarvars of the Sun and LaOta of the Sun, who is the founder and architect of the Sun. So, welcome.
I'd like to start off with calling for the truth. Shall we do that? You're
Yes.
welcome to join us. If you will put your left hand over your heart, and then if you will call for the truth. Shall we call for the truth? Shall we call to see the truth in our world, to see the truth in our children and our grandchildren and the ones that we love? Let us see the truth in the world that we live in. Let us hear the truth, that the things that come into our auditory system, shall we hear truth? Shall we have the courage to speak the truth in the face of the lie? Shall we call for the truth to come into our homes, into our experiences, into our work, into our children? Shall we have nothing less than the truth? With honor, respect
and
gratitude. We also would like to call for the aspect of life itself, the expression of life, the power of the divine feminine. We'd like to call that into our world. And again, if you'll put your left hand over your heart and call forth the power of the divine feminine into our world with the way towards balance, which is honor, respect, and gratitude to all, to the divine masculine, to the divine feminine. This is the way to balance. And we again call forth the power of the divine feminine to come forward into our world, which has never been here fully before, with the way towards balance, which is honor, respect, and gratitude. We welcome the power of the divine feminine, which is life itself. It is the divine feminine that has birthed every soul, every human, and in nature, the Mother Earth has birthed everything that is in this world and that is rapidly leaving this world. So we welcome you. And we're continuing a discussion about life.
All Life is Life, Part 2.
Yeah.
So we had some really good questions from our cameraman. And he wanted to know, how can your average person immediately move into this idea of giving reverence and respect to life? For the people who are on the path of, they know that it's wrong to kill ants or roaches, things that are insignificant, but they feel like they can't help themselves, but they want to do better, so to say.
I think the aspect of just the language that you're using, which is what I think people think. They think that because something is smaller or weaker, that it is insignificant, is key.
Mm.
I think that is key, because that's how I always thought too. That's really how all of us were raised. If you weren't raised in giving honor and respect to all of life, you were raised thinking that you were greater than the rest of life. So in the scope of things, if you could see yourself in the universe of your house, in the galaxy of the kitchen, in the solar system of your rooms, and you are the small insect transversing the great massive plains or deserts, working your way across the Sahara Desert because they got the heat on too high.
Of the bedroom carpet.
Looking for an oasis where you could get a few crumbs. And maybe there's a couple of drops so you could get a drink of water, and it looks like an oasis. It looks like, a giant river and it's 2 or 3 drops on the counter. So if you could see that you are life in the scheme of things just like that. And that sometimes a huge giant will come through and rumble and destroy your house and step on your things and take the garbage out that you were living in, or whatever the case is, that this huge giant that you have no control over comes and does that without any concern for you. Or a massive wind will come because someone opens the front door. A massive wind will come in and blow down, your house, or destroy your web, or disrupt your family, or kill one of your babies. If you could consider that other aspects of life are in the same experience of learning and their process of growing as you are, and that life is as above, so below, applies to everything.
I'm thinking about this from the perspective of the individual who's not actively doing this. That would require us to consider more than ourselves.
Yes, I know. It's just what a novel thought. Yes, this requires you to be able to recognize that the selfie you is not all that is. That everything in life supports your being able to take a picture of yourself on the toilet and show it to the world. Or facing the toilet, or behind the toilet, or
sitting on the countertop.
I mean, it's just such a metaphor that people go into the bathroom to do such a thing. It's a metaphor that people are walking around with masks on, hiding who they really are, and pretending to, or not so much pretending, but being the bandits, being the thieves, hiding their true intentions, not really showing their faces. All these metaphors, all these people are walking around with masks on because we have called that reality for it. The masks don't do anything but stop us from getting oxygen. They're not protecting us. So isn't it interesting that we're all still so indoctrinated with them, and whose reality called that forward? Who allowed that to happen? Who permitted that to come forward? We don't have to do what people say. We do it because we agree with them. All of that is something that we have made manifest in our world. It is us. It is us that are killing the weeds and poisoning the grass so that our animals get tumors when they roll around in the grass. It is us who have decided that having a lawn is a high level of civilization that we must adhere to, and we must buy chemicals to poison everything, our environment and ourselves, and make sure that we kill every living thing that's around our house. And then, should something have the poor fortune to get into the house, if we see it, we want to track it down, find its family, and we call it extermination. We want to cull the herd. We want to exterminate them in the same way that we are being culled and exterminated.
Yeah.
The metaphor is very clear.
Yeah, I'm thinking this has been historical, and it's happening right now with not just humans, but all life is under this level of attack.
All life is under this level of attack by humans, and now humans are being culled and being given things that are going to kill them, and we will be reduced as we have reduced the amount of weeds there are on the lawn, and by doing so we've killed our pets and slowly are killing ourselves.
So back to, thank you, by the way, back to the question, or the base of the question. So we see that person, we have to learn how to shift our perspective of what's outside of us, acknowledging that other things matter, other life forms. This sounds a lot like in Lakesh to me, this idea of seeing myself in the other, seeing the divinity carried over across the board. So any thoughts on that idea of Lakesh and the carryover with all that is?
How is it that we all agree that we are fabulous, outstanding, amazing, the super creatures of all creation, and that what we come from, everything else comes from, but it doesn't count? How is that possible? How is it possible that the same creator that created the great us and also created everything else, but we can ignore everything else and just take the us part. So there's, in Lakesh, it means I see that the same creator that created you created me, and in me is the creation. I am God and so are you. So how is it that nothing else counts? Oh, maybe it's convenient so that we can take the trees and use them. So we can take the minerals out of the soil, so that we can kill the birds for sport, so we can chase down the foxes with hounds and people and horses for sport. We can terrorize aspects of nature because we have deemed that they were not created by that which created us. It's just ridiculous. Yes. It's a ridiculous assumption. We all have been, our planet has gone along with it. We have allowed it and permitted it. I no longer permit that in my experience. I don't permit anyone to mistreat a person, an animal, a child, within whatever I can control. That will not happen. I encourage you all to do the same. Stop it. Stop people from killing things in your house unless you're in accord with being a killer. Stop people from killing things in the yard unless you're in accord with being that person. Life is trying to give us life. Without the life in the surrounding environment, in our ecosystems, we do not live. Without pollinators, we do not exist. Without the weeds, we won't be able to forage when all the grocery stores are closed. There won't be anything for us to eat.
We were having a conversation earlier. We have conversations before this goes down, right? And they're really good. And so we were discussing about this idea of how humans, we feel some type of way, primarily negatively towards nature. Like when we see other life forms, again, establishing that all life is life in Lakesh, right? Same creator that made us, made these other life forms, but we're disgusted. And even, the things that grow in our yard, we're disgusted to be out there barefoot, to walk on the soil. Like, what is this? Could you speak to this idea?
We're terrified of other aspects of nature, and some of this is in the lineage. Some of this is generational. Some of this is fear of what man has done to the earth, and those memories, those are implanted and still fresh in us. But we are so disgusted by maggots. We're so disgusted by flies. We're so disgusted by worms. We're disgusted by all the things that serve us, that serve the process of the interconnectedness of all of life. We are so far from it that when I was growing up, when I was born, women were so disgusted by the idea of nursing, they stopped nursing their babies and started giving them bottles because they decided that was too primitive. But they still had breasts. They didn't think that was primitive. Just using them for some the purpose they were designed seemed primitive. So it's all, this is very much what I talked about in the last time, that it's perspective, which is edited.
Yes.
This is not truth. This is just the small version that you're seeing. So that's one of the areas where in some places people feel that, and it happened in the plantations in America during slavery, that the wet nurses were always the slaves, because it was considered uncivilized for the women who owned the plantation to have the experience of actually nurturing their own children. So this is not any different than any other aspect of nature that has been put there for our growth, for our development, to make us stronger. All of these things have been made anti what we want to do. So in my time, people didn't want to nurse their children. And this time, people find anything that has to do with life disgusting and to be averted. Nobody wants to be outside. Nobody wants to interact with nature. People are afraid of nature. People, because of the way they interact with nature, they bring about unpleasantness for everyone involved, including whatever is outside. They bring that about through their frustration with understanding it, their lack of concern for understanding it, their fear of it, and then in general, this disgust of life. Life is not airbrushed as a centerfold in Playboy. That's not what real people look like. That's the illusion that people have fallen in love with. And so then they lose value in what life really looks like, what it really looks like to move through life, and what all of that means.
So hearing you say this, it's bringing up the thoughts of, all right, let's talk about these people who inserted or inseminated this into humanity's consciousness. Because
yes.
it seems like there has been progressively over time this separation where we're communicating, communing with the land, understanding of the processes of as you say, the interconnected system of the mother and our relationship to it, and just like snip, all of the connectivities to where we're just looking through this little slither. And again, this idea of the illusion of what a woman looks like, or what a woman should look like, and how that falsity, you have all of these people who are on Instagram and TikTok, and they're viewing it, and then they're depressed because they're not living up to the standards of what is not real, what is not the truth of life. So, what's up with this anti-life thing? I know we wanted to speak about, specifically, what's life, what's anti-life?
Well, this is explained somewhat in my book, Call for Truth, where I talk about the fact that anti-life has come to our planet from the very beginning, and this is off-world interference. Anti-life, in its many iterations, is off-world interference. There are some things that are not human about how we behave and how we react to one another. One of them is how women are treated on the planet, and this started early on, and bringing back the power of the divine feminine is so important, because the condition that we find ourselves in, the condition our children are at the mercy of, the world religions, all of these things have less to do with the truth and more to do with the trick that was played on humanity. So this idea of anti-life comes in, and I told the story about what happened with the conquistadors, where people are revering and happy with what Mother Nature gives them to eat, even in the most severe of conditions. But then another aspect comes in, representing a world religion, that then says, oh no, you're blaspheming to be thankful to your food, so we're going to punish you. So these kinds of ideas of separating people from the truth of the reverence and respect that should be given to everything. There should be reverence and respect given to your hair. There should be reverence and respect given to your fingernails and to every aspect of you, everything you eat, everything that the Mother Nature, the planet, produces for you. This is our planet. And not only is it our planet, but everything on the planet comes from the mother. And so as the mother has been destroyed, the earth is now unsustainable. As everything becomes destroyed, this was done quite purposely as an agenda to move the intelligent power of the divine feminine out of control. It's because it is true that there is a power that's specific to bringing life in, to gestating consciousness, to gestating a book, a concept, an idea, creativity, or a child. And this has been silenced and reconfigured and airbrushed into, what is it they call it now? Body consciousness. Now reconfigured into, it's like the cartoon on Roger Rabbit, what's her name?
Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit. So now this is the current vogue, but this is not the design, the divine design that was created. This is a cartoon, literally.
Exaggerated.
And it's actually literally a cartoon. Just like the Barbie doll, is a literally, and I've talked about that before, she would be 5'9" and size 2 feet. It's a cartoon. So this idea of women trying to live up to an unlivable situation in an environment of being hated and despised and not honored and respected for who they are is a truth of the reality we live in. And as a result, we find that we're on a planet where everyone is sick and being made sicker all the time, being made more and more compliant to go along with more and more of this. So I am, for one, saying stand up against it and make sure that you honor nature, life, and not anti-life. So all of the many things that represent anti-life, this could be your measuring stick. You go somewhere and someone says, you need to, jump up 3 times, turn around backwards, fill out 20 forms, and do this. You can say, that's not life. That's not how life works. That's anti-life. And then you can identify what is not in harmony with your nature, what is not in harmony with your body, what is not in harmony with giving you strength and nutrients, what doesn't give your children strength and nutrients, what is not upright, what is not morally correct. These are anti-life ideas. If someone is teaching you to lie or encouraging you not to tell the truth, that's anti-life. And this is one way for you to see then what's left over. What's left over is what is life. There will come a time when we will need to choose whether we will become transhuman, whether we will accept the artificial intelligent aspect diminishing us and gladly take that, or go to the farms and grow our own food, grow our children from the proven equation of Mother Earth and life itself. So I'm not sure if I answered you.
I think you did vividly. A mosaic on that. Solutions. This thread of different examples that you gave of what is life and also what is not. One of the things that stood out the most was this idea of lying.
Yes.
And the truth supports life. The truth erects us, right?
Yes,
we eat food, that's the truth.
That's right.
Real food, not these mutated things that we call food. That sustains and supports us, and the lie weakens us. I see these are simple things that the average person can do in their day-to-day experience with themselves and their environment and those around them.
This is excellent. There's several points here that you just brought up. We were divinely created. We are established in truth. So our bodies need the truth to exist. And when anything comes into our electromagnetic fields around our body that is not the truth, it weakens us. So pharmaceuticals weaken us, microwaves weaken us, Kentucky Fried Chicken weakens us. All of the beige food that's on all of the plates that instead of the colored food that has the appropriate nutrient range. All of these things weaken us, and they all insinuate into us a part of the lie. If we ingest them, if we become that, if that's what we want, if that's what we think, then we are part of the lie. And then as we become more and more part of the lie, then other lies can attach to it, because lies recognize lies, and it grows more lies.
Resonance, yes.
Yes, it's a morphic resonance. Morphic resonance, which is science and can be proven, and that's what we use in property clearing as well. We are able to identify the morphic resonance and collapse the fields. So in the same way, the solution does not elude us, we just have not addressed it. So we have to want to be alive. We have to call for the truth so that the truth can support us, because the lie will not support us. The things that we are being fed, information, food, propaganda, all of these things, the things we see with our eyes when people are looking at pornography, that's a lie. That is not the truth of the experience of who a woman and a man are. That is a lie that's perpetuated, that then hardwires the brain to only want to see the lie. The same thing happens if you only eat French fries and burgers that have no nutritional value. The French fries are made out of styrofoam. Then that then becomes the reality, and then you then become what you eat. And what you eat is what your eyes eat, is what your ears hear, and is what your mouth chews.
Yes.
And all of that is true. So this weakens every aspect of us and makes us addicted to what is not the truth. So these things have everything to do with anti-life. They don't support life. We become addicted to it, and we don't feel we have the strength to break away from it. And these kinds of things are killing humanity, and it is epidemic. What we can do is begin to call for the truth. The simple act of saying all day long, or as often as possible, I call for the truth. When you call for, in this universe, as in all universes, if you say the words over and over again, backed up by the intense desire, it will manifest at whatever level it can manifest in your experience. This is something we all actually understand, but we often forget to do it. So if you call for the truth, you call that you see the truth, then it will show up in your experience based on your intensity and how much you want it to show up at the pace at which you do that. And so that is a solution in that way.
Life is that simple, dealing with life.
Has calling for the truth shown you truth?
Yes, it has. Of course, I had to see where I was lying to myself, you know.
When you start calling for the truth, the lie shows up.
Yeah,
you see the lie, and it can be extremely painful, but you can get over it.
Yes, ma'am.
You can let go of the lie, and the lie will let go of you.
I'd like to say what you just shared. I went on a bit of a journey. I feel that for those who are seeking the truth and on this path, I think that was enough to at least get the person into some action, real-time, practical action.
It actually is a solution. Also, remembering that actually don't have a cursory view of life. Sit down on the ground and look at an ant.
Oh my gosh, you'll be amazed.
Watch what happens and the beauty and the survival instinct of a weed. You know, we should be in admiration of the aspects of life.
We have this brick wall that's near the driveway, and I can see the dandelion leaves breaking out at the base. I'm like, oh, you guys, by any means, huh? It just makes me smile when I see it.
Yeah, because
it's just the truth.
You're looking at them, and so there won't be this separation of, ooh, I'm scared of you because you're a weed, you're gonna kill my other things, when in fact, what do you care if the whole lawn is green? If it's dandelions, or does it have to be, the particular hybrid of chemically organized and genetically modified grass? Can't we be happy that we have life? Can't we take a moment to recognize that the things that we are sometimes disgusted by are really taking care of things that would have killed us? You know, that what happens in the deconstruction of matter is important in our world.
I'm just having thoughts, and we may have to wrap this up, but the very idea about the dandelion, I came across some information where every aspect of the dandelion can be used for us.
Yes.
From the roots to the leaves to the
We can have
flower
dandelion
petals.
tea, we can have dandelion coffee, you can eat dandelion greens. It's just everything can be used for humanity, and the power of the medicine and the healing within it is extreme. But we are busy killing all of our medicine.
Yes. It's interesting. Just
It's
saying.
anti-life. We have adopted so much of the off-world interests came in to diminish us, and they are doing a fine job of it.
Yeah.
So now we are busy killing all of our friends, the ants, the bees, the roaches, all the things that can help us and show us the way to salvation. The dandelions, we're killing all of them. We're emulating those who are trying to kill us. And it shows up in different ways, in different aspects. And we could talk about it more, but if you call for the truth and ask to see what is life and what is anti-life, somebody comes into your life, are you life? Are you anti-life?
Are you supporting me, or are you draining and depleting my resources and trying to extinguish me from the planet?
So there you have it.
It becomes very clear. It's like simple, black and white, so to say.
Yeah, this is not so that you would be depressed. This is the reason we are always so humorous is we can see the juxtaposition of having been raised in this aspect of insanity. That it's so insane that we destroy ourselves without really even understanding why, where we're running off the cliff all the time and taking everyone with us. So it's time for that to stop, so that our children can exist, their children can exist, the planet can be reset, and we are going through many things that will continue. You are encouraged to take these things to heart, even though we're smiling while we're saying it. You don't need to be depressed to be serious. I am soul certain and soul serious, but I am not of a frequency that will allow me to be depressed about it. This is part of our matriculation and process in our soul development. I encourage you to get an A in class.
Hey, well, maybe close this out by calling for the truth. And,
Yes. So we would close this out by thanking the power of the Divine Feminine and asking the power of the Divine Feminine to come back into our world through Mother Earth, through human beings, through humanity. The power of the Divine Feminine to come back into our world with the way, which is honor and respect for everything. For the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine, we call for the power of the Divine Feminine to come back into our world. Let this be the way that we protect and save our children, our earth, and ourselves. Shall we call for the truth? Shall we call to see the truth? Shall we call to hear the truth? Shall we call to speak the truth? Shall we call for the power of truth to come into our experience? Shall we have nothing less than the truth? Thank you. In Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.